Episode 4, The Sunday Drive. The Range Rover smelled of leather and expensive cologne. Daniel's, not Marcus's. Alex tried to focus on that detail, anything to stop her hands from shaking as she deleted the latest threatening text. The screen went dark, but the words remained burned into her mind. Enjoy your date, Alexandra. Make the most of it. Marcus navigated through Southwark's Sunday morning traffic with easy confidence. One hand on the wheel, the other still holding hers. He'd changed from his usual professional attire into dark jeans and a charcoal sweater that made his gray eyes seem even more striking. The casual look suited him, made him seem approachable in a way his surgical scrubs or barrister's robes never could. "You're quiet," he said, glancing over with a slight frown. "Having second thoughts about spending the day with me?" "No." The word came out too quickly, too sharp. She softened her tone. "Just thinking about work." "On a Sunday, Alex? That's against the rules." He lifted her hand to his lips, kissing her knuckles in a gesture so natural it made her chest ache. "Today is about forgetting work exists. No chambers, no hospitals, no deadlines. Just us." If only it were that simple. Alex watched the city slide past her window, the familiar streets of London transformed by pale October sunlight into something almost magical. Couples strolled along the Thames path, pushing prams or walking dogs. Normal people living normal lives, unburdened by anonymous threats and professional crises that could destroy everything they'd built. Her phone buzzed again. She jumped, heart hammering. "Popular this morning?" Marcus observed. "Want to get that?" "No." She silenced it without looking, shoving it deep into her bag. Natasha's name had flashed on the screen, the third call from her best friend in the past hour. Alex knew what Natasha wanted. Details about last night's kiss, reassurance that Alex wasn't making a terrible mistake with Marcus, promises to be careful. But how could she be careful when someone was watching her every move? They crossed Blackfriars Bridge, heading north toward Bloomsbury. The Thames glittered below them, deceptively peaceful. Alex had walked across this bridge hundreds of times, usually lost in case strategy or witness preparation. She'd never noticed how beautiful it was. "Where are we going?" she asked. "You'll see." Marcus's smile was secretive, boyish. "I promise you'll love it, or at least I hope you will. I've been planning this since Friday night, since he'd kissed her on that street corner in Shoreditch, since he'd looked at her like she was the only person in the world who mattered." The memory sent heat flooding through her despite the morning chill. They drove in comfortable silence for a while, Marcus humming along to the radio, some indie band Alex didn't recognize. She studied his profile. The strong jaw, the slight bump on his nose, broken during rugby at Cambridge, he'd mentioned once, the way his hair fell across his forehead when he wasn't in surgery mode. Daniel had introduced them 18 months ago at a legal conference, but Alex had been too raw from her breakup with David to do anything about the instant attraction. Then came Natasha's birthday party last spring, where they'd talked for hours about everything and nothing. Marcus had almost kissed her that night in the garden, but his phone had rung, emergency surgery, and the moment had passed. Now here they were, finally taking the risk. And someone was watching. Alex's phone buzzed again, and again. She ignored it. "Is everything okay?" Marcus asked, his voice careful. "You seem tense." "I'm fine, Alex." He pulled over onto a side street near Russell Square, putting the car in park. Then he turned to face her fully, gray eyes searching hers with an intensity that made her want to look away. "Talk to me. What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong. I'm just—" "You're terrified," he said gently. "I can see it. And I don't think it's about us, though correct me if I'm wrong." He reached over and brushed a strand of hair from her face, his touch feather-light. "Is it work? The case you mentioned?" She could lie. Should lie. This was their second date, far too early to burden him with the professional crisis threatening to destroy her career. But something in his expression stopped her. The genuine concern, the patience, the way he looked at her like she mattered more than his plans or his schedule. "There's a leak," she heard herself say. "At Chambers. Someone's feeding privileged information to the opposition in my biggest case. If we can't identify the source by Tuesday, the lead counsel will file a Bar Standards Board complaint that could destroy the firm's reputation, and possibly my career along with it." Marcus's expression darkened. "Christ, Alex, that's serious." "It gets worse." She pulled out her phone, hands trembling slightly as she opened the messages. "I've been receiving these." She showed him the texts. All of them, from the first warning on Friday night to this morning's chilling and killing. "Enjoy your date." Marcus's jaw tightened as he read, his grip on the phone turning white-knuckled. "Someone's threatening you," he said, his voice dangerously quiet. "Watching you. And you didn't think to mention this before getting in a car with me?" "I didn't want to ruin..." "Ruin what? Our date?" He handed back her phone, running a hand through his hair in frustration. "Alex, this is serious. Have you gone to the police? And tell them what? That I'm receiving anonymous texts? They'll say it's probably just harassment. Tell me to block the numbers." She laughed bitterly. "Besides, if word gets out that I'm being threatened in connection with the Thornton case, it'll only make things worse. Patricia Ashworth, the lead counsel for the defense, will use it as proof that our chambers can't maintain security." "So what? You're just going to ignore it? Pretend someone isn't stalking you?" "I don't know what I'm going to do." The words burst out of her, sharper than intended. "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have. This isn't your problem." "Like hell it isn't." Marcus's voice was fierce now, protective. "You're my problem now, Alex, whether you like it or not." He cupped her face in his hands, forcing her to meet his eyes. "Listen to me. Whoever is sending these texts wants you scared and isolated. They want you to pull back from everyone, to be vulnerable. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to have our date. We're going to enjoy the day I planned. And then tonight, we're going to figure out how to keep you safe." "Marcus, no arguments." He kissed her forehead, then her nose, then her lips. Soft and reassuring. "I'm not letting you face this alone. Understood?" She nodded, throat tight with emotion. When was the last time someone had offered to protect her? David certainly never had. He'd been too busy sleeping with his colleague while Alex worked 18-hour days to make senior associate. "Good." Marcus pulled back onto the road, his expression determined. "Now, we're going to salvage this morning, and you're going to love what I have planned." 20 minutes later, they pulled up outside the British Museum. Alex stared at the imposing Greek Revival facade, confusion replacing her anxiety. "The museum?" "Not just the museum." Marcus came around to open her door, offering his hand. "Trust me." He led her past the main entrance, around to a side door marked "Staff Only." A security guard nodded at Marcus, clearly expecting them. "Dr. Ashford," the guard said. "Dr. Patel is waiting in the Egyptian gallery." "Thank you, James." Alex followed Marcus through a maze of corridors, her heels clicking on marble floors. "You have special access to the British Museum?" "My mother is on the board of trustees," he said with a slightly embarrassed shrug. "And I may have called in a favor. I remembered you mentioning at Natasha's party that you'd always wanted to see the Egyptian collection when it's empty, before the crowds arrive." Her breath caught. She had mentioned that, months ago, in passing, during a conversation about favorite London spots. She'd assumed he'd forgotten. They emerged into the Egyptian gallery, and Alex stopped dead. The vast space was empty, except for them. Morning light streaming through the glass ceiling to illuminate rows of sarcophagi, hieroglyphic-covered walls, and ancient artifacts that had survived millennia. The silence was profound, almost sacred. "Marcus," she whispered, "this is completely over the top?" He looked uncertain now, vulnerable in a way she'd never seen him. "I wanted to give you something special, something that would make you forget, even for a few hours, about everything else." She turned to face him fully, this man who barely knew her, but had somehow seen exactly what she needed. "It's perfect," she said. "You're perfect." The kiss was different from last night's. Slower, deeper, filled with promise rather than desperate hunger. Marcus's hand slid into her hair, angling her head to deepen the kiss, and Alex forgot about the texts, the leak, the investigation. For a few stolen moments in an empty museum, there was only this. His mouth on hers, his body pressed against hers, the ancient stones bearing witness to something new beginning. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Marcus rested his forehead against hers. "I've wanted to do that since the moment I saw you at that conference," he admitted. 18 months of thinking about you, wondering what it would be like. And it's so much better than I imagined. "We should probably stop before we scandalize the pharaohs," Alex said, though she made no move to step away. "Probably." He kissed her once more, quick and sweet. Come on, Dr. Patel promised us 2 hours before the museum opens. Let's not waste them. They wandered through the collection hand in hand, Marcus pointing out his favorite pieces, while Alex shared random legal trivia about antiquities law. It was easy, comfortable, the kind of companionship she'd stopped believing she could have with anyone. Her phone stayed silent in her bag, but as they stood before the Rosetta Stone, Alex's professional mind refused to stay quiet. Someone at Chambers was betraying everything she'd worked for. Someone was threatening her, watching her, trying to scare her into silence. And she had less than 48 hours to identify them before Patricia Ashworth destroyed Morrison and Blackwood. Sarah Winters had accessed Chambers at 2:37 a.m. last Tuesday. Suspicious timing, but not proof. Alex needed more. Access logs, email records, phone data. She needed to know who Sarah had been communicating with, whether she'd photographed documents, if money had changed hands. And she needed to figure out who was sending the texts before they escalated from threats to action. You're thinking about work again, Marcus observed. I can see the wheels turning. Sorry, she squeezed his hand. Occupational hazard. Then let me distract you. He pulled her close, speaking low enough that his breath tickled her ear. I'm on call tonight at 8, but I'm free until then. What do you say we grab lunch somewhere quiet, then go back to my flat? I'd very much like to continue what we started on that street corner last night. Heat pooled low in Alex's belly at the suggestion. She hadn't been with anyone since David. 3 years of self-imposed celibacy while she rebuilt her career and her confidence. The thought of being that vulnerable with someone again terrified her, but the thought of saying no terrified her more. Yes, she said, I'd like that. Marcus's smile was pure male satisfaction. Good. Because I've been thinking about getting you alone since Friday night, and my imagination is running wild. They left the museum at 11:30, emerging into bright sunshine and the beginning of tourist crowds. Marcus kept his arm around her shoulders, protective and possessive in a way that made Alex feel cherished rather than owned. Her phone buzzed as they reached the car. She pulled it out, expecting another threat. Instead, it was Richard Morrison. My office. Tomorrow 7 a.m. We need to talk about Sarah. And the texts. Alex's blood ran cold. Richard knew about the texts, which meant he'd either been monitoring her phone, possible given the security investigation, or someone had told him. Who else knew? Everything okay? Marcus asked, reading her expression. My mentor wants to meet tomorrow morning, she said slowly. About the investigation. That's good, right? Maybe they found something. Maybe. Or maybe Richard had decided Alex was too compromised to continue investigating. Maybe he'd decided she was the leak. No, that was paranoia talking. Richard had been her champion for 7 years. He wouldn't turn on her now, would he? They drove to a small Italian restaurant in Clerkenwell, tucked away on a quiet side street. Over pasta and wine, Marcus told her about his sister's upcoming wedding in Edinburgh, his decision to leave law for medicine. The moment he'd realized he wanted to save lives rather than argue about them. Alex found herself opening up in return, about Oxford, about the brutal pupillage that had nearly broken her, about the moment she'd won her first case and felt invincible. She didn't mention David. Some wounds were still too raw. By the time they finished lunch, Alex felt almost normal, almost like a woman on a date with an attractive man, rather than someone being stalked and threatened. Then her phone rang, unknown number. She stared at it, frozen. Don't answer, Marcus said. Let it go to voicemail. But Alex's hand was already moving, accepting the call before she could think better of it. Hello? Silence. Then breathing. Deliberate, calculated. Who is this? Alex demanded. More silence. Then a woman's voice, distorted by some kind of filter. You should have stayed away from him, Alexandra. Now you've made this personal. The line went dead. Alex sat frozen. The phone still pressed to her ear, ice flooding her veins. You should have stayed away from him. From Marcus? This was about Marcus? Alex? Marcus reached across the table, taking her hand. What did they say? She couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. This wasn't just about the case anymore. Someone was targeting her because of Marcus, because she dared to let someone in, which meant Marcus was in danger too. We need to leave, she managed. Now. Marcus threw cash on the table without arguing, then guided her out to the car. Alex's legs felt unsteady, her mind racing through possibilities. Who would care about her relationship with Marcus? Who would see it as a threat, unless the leak and the threats weren't separate issues? Unless someone at Chambers had a personal stake in destroying her, professionally and personally. Sarah Winters, 26, brilliant, ambitious. Alex's protege for the past year. Sarah had seemed grateful for the mentorship, eager to learn. But what if gratitude had curdled into resentment? What if Sarah saw Alex's success as something to be taken rather than earned? Or what if it wasn't Sarah at all? What if Alex was looking in completely the wrong direction? They drove in tense silence back toward Southwark. Marcus kept glancing at her, clearly wanting to help, but not knowing how. When they reached her building, he parked but didn't turn off the engine. "I should go," Alex said quietly. "This was a mistake. I've put you in danger by—" "Stop." Marcus cut the engine and turned to face her. "I'm not running away because someone made a threatening phone call. And neither are you. You don't understand. Then help me understand." His voice was gentle but firm. "Come upstairs. We'll figure this out together." Alex wanted to argue, wanted to push him away, protect him from whatever nightmare she'd stumbled into. But she was so tired of being alone, so tired of carrying everything by herself. "Okay," she whispered. They rode the elevator to her fourth-floor flat in silence. Alex's hands shook as she unlocked the door, hyper-aware of Marcus behind her, of the weight of his presence in her space. The flat looked exactly as she'd left it that morning, neat, impersonal, more like a hotel room than a home. She'd never bothered to make it cozy. What was the point when she spent most of her time at Chambers? Marcus moved through the space slowly, taking it in. "This is very you," he said finally. "Beautiful but guarded. I'm not sure that's a compliment. It's an observation." He came to stand in front of her, close enough that she could feel his body heat. "You've built walls everywhere, Alex. In your flat, at work, around your heart. And I understand why. Someone hurt you badly enough that you decided it was safer to be alone. Marcus. But here's the thing." He cupped her face in his hands, thumb stroking her cheekbones. "I'm not him. Whoever he was, whatever he did, I'm not going to do that to you. And I'm not going anywhere just because someone is trying to scare you away from me." Tears pricked at Alex's eyes. She blinked them back furiously. "You barely know me. I know enough." He kissed her softly. "I know you're brilliant and brave and so scared of being hurt again that you've forgotten how to live. I know you deserve someone who sees you, really sees you, and doesn't run away from what they find. And you think you're that person? I'd like the chance to be." Another kiss, deeper this time. "If you'll let me." Alex's response was to pull him closer, threading her fingers through his hair and kissing him with all the pent-up longing and fear and desperate hope she'd been carrying. Marcus responded immediately, his hands sliding down to her waist, pulling her flush against him. They stumbled toward her bedroom, shedding jackets and shoes along the way. Alex's rational mind screamed that this was too fast, too reckless. But her body, starved for touch, for connection, for proof that she was still capable of feeling, overruled every objection. Marcus laid her on the bed with surprising gentleness, his gray eyes dark with desire, but also something deeper. "Are you sure?" he asked, even as his hands traced patterns on her skin that made her arch into his touch. "Yes," she breathed. "God, yes." What followed was revelation. Marcus was patient and thorough, learning her body with the same focused intensity he brought to surgery. He found every sensitive spot, every place that made her gasp and tremble. And when he finally pushed inside her, filling her completely, Alex felt something crack open in her chest, some locked door she'd thought permanently sealed. Afterward, they lay tangled together, both breathing hard. Marcus traced lazy circles on her shoulder, his other arm wrapped around her waist. "That was—" He trailed off, seeming at a loss for words. "Yeah," Alex agreed. "It was." Her phone buzzed on the nightstand, a harsh intrusion into their private world. Alex tensed, but Marcus reached over and silenced it without looking. "Ignore it," he murmured against her hair, "just for a little while longer." So she did. She let herself drift in the warmth of his embrace, pretending that outside this room, threats and investigations and betrayals didn't exist, that she was just a woman falling for a man who saw past her armor to the vulnerable heart beneath. But eventually, Marcus's alarm went off. Time for him to head to the hospital for his shift. He dressed reluctantly, stealing kisses between each piece of clothing. "I'll call you later," he promised. "And tomorrow, we're going to sort this out properly. Figure out who's threatening you and why." "Marcus, you don't have to. I want to." He kissed her one more time, long and deep. "Get some rest, and Alex, lock the door behind me." After he left, Alex lay in bed for a long time, staring at the ceiling. Her body felt languid, satisfied in ways she'd forgotten were possible, but her mind wouldn't stop racing. You should have stayed away from him. Finally, she forced herself up and checked her phone. 7 missed calls from Natasha, 3 texts from Sophie, 1 from Richard confirming tomorrow's 7 a.m. meeting, and 1 more message from an unknown number sent while she and Marcus were in bed. Did you enjoy your afternoon, Alexandra? I hope it was worth it, because now he's part of this too, and when everything falls apart, and it will, you'll have no one to blame but yourself. Alex's hands shook as she read the message again. Then again, the words blurred as tears finally spilled over, hot and furious against her cheeks. She'd tried to protect Marcus by keeping him at a distance, but she'd failed. Whoever was doing this had already drawn him into their web, and Alex had no idea how to get him out.
Thanks for watching our stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more epic adventures. Thanks for watching our stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more epic adventures.